of climate change, with many saying that it is costing them both money and time and having other negative impacts. Now, this is according to a new report dubbed Farmer's Voice that has just been released. Now, the report is based on a survey conducted around the world and focusing on farmers in Australia, in Brazil, China, Germany, India, Kenya, and the Ukraine and the United States. Now, according to this report, 75% of farmers are already impacted by climate change or worried about its impacts, and 71% of them report reduced yields as a major concern. Now, the researchers said that the farmers' most prevalent challenges, that is the top concerns, were driven by volatility and uncertainty with regard to the fact that the next 3 years, more than a third reported weather volatility or extreme weather conditions and price and income volatility among their top 3 challenges. Now, the research has also noted that while the findings remain stable compared to the findings in 2023, this year's survey has revealed a notable increase of political or regulatory decisions as a key concern, with about 29% of farmers citing that as a top 3 challenge, double the amount compared to last year. Now, the research has also noted that for many of the farmers, one way to achieve resilience and cope with the different kinds of hurdles and make farming more productive lies in digitalization. Now, Farmer Voice research found that nearly 2/3 of farmers use digital tools, while another 25% plan to use them in the future. Now, on average, globally, about 65% of farmers are using digital tools today versus 49% in China, 42% in Kenya, and only about 8% in India. Now, this led Rodrigo Santos, who is a member of the Board of Management for Bayer, who supported this research, and the president of the Crop Science Division, to say that the Farmer's Voice study underlines the challenges that farmers continue to face while accelerating economic and environmental challenges in their important work of providing food to the world, and that they want innovation to help them to do their jobs better in an environment in which they can increasingly turn towards regenerative practices that make food systems more resilient to the benefit of the planet, food security, and livelihoods alike. Well, quite a mouthful right there, and something, of course, to bring us to our interview for the day here. And, of course, my guests being here in studio, Oponyo Eugene, chairperson, and Shanice Sigirankambo, Green Tech Lead. Mangled the name right there. How do you say the name?
Singirankabo.
Sigirankambo.
Singirankabo.
Singirankabo. Well, more or less, I think we'll just stick to Shanice. Eugene, karibu sana. First off, I think we'll start with you, Eugene. Talk to us about what exactly the Wazalendo Movement Africa is and what you do.
Thank you. Wazalendo Movement Africa, this is a movement we founded on the basis of joblessness. And this is a movement of the jobless masses, for the jobless masses, by the jobless masses, whereby we are using climate change, smart agriculture, and other brilliant ideas to curb the menace of unemployment in the country, in the continent of Africa.
And is that working?
Yeah, it is working, because if you look at the number of empowered people we have in our organization, we see it's working, and we see the more people we are trying to incorporate in the world of agriculture. Since we started all this journey in 2016, majority of the people, or rather young people, were anti-farming. Majority of the young people felt like farming is for the villagers. Farming ni ya wale watu hawajielewi. But now it is more of a dirty work. But now we are trying to change that narrative. We are trying to let them know this is something you can venture into. Let's not all be dependent on collar jobs. We can do this and help our families. We can do this and help other young people in the country and in the continent of Africa.
You can do this and make money. So you work essentially through advocacy, or how is it that you get people to engage in agriculture?
We do trainings. We've been let me say this: we have a representation in 32 counties as we speak. We've been doing trainings whereby we have a segment in what we call climate smart agriculture literacy, where we have been trying to train young people to elevate and they understand that you can make money and make a sustainable livelihood out of this. So if you look at it, we have been doing what we call advocacy, as you've said. But advocacy only does not help. You need action. So for us, we have also been doing action, whereby we have a project or other initiatives what we call greening of hospitals. We have another initiatives what we call greening of prisons.
Yes.
And we have another project or other initiative coming up on what we call greening of Kenya military barracks, whereby if you think of it, all these institutions I've mentioned, they have large tracts of land, but these tracts of land have never been put into use. So that's why we are coming in as Wazalendo Movement Africa to tell young people, instead of complaining there is unemployment, instead of complaining you don't have something like agriculture sector, and see on how we can benefit. And hence we have the smart farming techniques, the hydroponics, the vertical farming. Just because they are those people will say we don't have enough space, we don't have farms, or our farms are still owned by the parents, so we don't have accessibility to that. But we are telling them those to us are excuses. If you want to do something, you can do it if you come out and look at the opportunities in the area where you are. Simply because all of us, we come from a place. All of us, we have maybe parents or we have a farm. But these farms have been doing what we call traditional farming. And it is not sustainable. If you look at the menace the climate change is bringing into the continent of Africa and the entire world, just the other day there was floods and even droughts in Kenya. And these droughts even brought about poverty. And hence,
but we can't make it stop to rain. So we are trying to approach farming in a way we can control it. We can get all the data that we need so that we can sustain and make more productivity on what we are farming. So green tech is just being smart on the farming side.
So utilizing the technology that you have and innovations to make your agriculture more productive. Okay. So exactly what does that look like in the? You said 32 counties where you're presented. How would you say the youth are then taking advantage of this technology to achieve impact?
Yeah. One of the things we are trying to do is we promote literacy. We're telling them what is green technology. How can you use it? So whenever we talk about tech, people think that you need to have done something in IT, in technology, but that's not the case. It's just how you're going to incorporate that technology in your farming. So we just give them literacy in a point where you can start your own smart farming somewhere where you have all the basics and how you can articulate everything to get more produces in what you're doing. So we're just telling them there's a right way to do things, but now you can incorporate something that is going to make it more productive.
And looking at the research we've just seen there, and I want to come to you, Eugene, and the challenges that farmers have highlighted and saying that these are the major issues we are facing. And you've seen they've talked about politics and regulations, they've talked about the impact of climate change, they've talked about pricing. How would you say your organization is helping young farmers bridge events such as this in ways that can then enable them rise head and shoulders above other farmers in the same ecosystem?
If you look at it, we're from the region whereby production of sugar is on the high. Sugarcane farming is a major crop in the western region. But if you look at it, majority of the farmers have grown there, so I know and I understand the major problems farmers are facing. And that's why it was easier for us to come up with solutions. For instance, majority of the farmers in the sugar industry, majority of them don't get anything out of their produce, simply because the production cost is very high as compared to what they get at the end of the day. So we are coming in as Wazalendo Movement Africa, where we've been teaching these young farmers in the Western region to see on how they can take advantage of the new regulations being put in place, the policies being put in place. At the same time, we've been trying to rally farmers to know that you need to be an association, not just sugarcane only, even coffee, even tea, even any other crop. You need to be in a cooperative. You need to be in an association for you at least to help yourself and advocate for what is right for you. Yes, as Wazalendo Movement Africa, we can be there for you and advocate for what is right for you, but we are not a cooperative or rather an association. But as farmers for coffee cooperatives, they are in a position whereby they can come up with policies to regulate their markets. So we are giving them this information, because if you look at it, majority of the farmers in the country, they don't have the knowledge. Majority of the farmers, even if you look at it on the other, some few months ago, there was supply of fake fertilizer. Majority even of the farmers could not understand what was going on. So the reason why they are really complaining about the problems is there is what we call agricultural officers. But these agricultural officers are never in the field, are never there to give them the right knowledge on what they need to do. So that's why Wazalendo Movement is coming in through the green tech, because we don't need to be on your farm to advise you on what you need to do. You can reach us out and we give you instructions on what you need to do, maybe keeping in mind what is bedeviling you in those farms, because different regions have different problems.
So some of the challenges that you've talked about have been perennial, and you'd think that a simple contract between the producing farmer and the person who will eventually buy the produce, be it coffee, be it sugarcane and that sort of thing, would sort out these challenges, because farmers are essentially shooting in the dark, planting things, raising coffee, harvesting, planting sugarcane without knowing what the final price is going to be vis-a-vis the other costs in the market. We've seen in modern economies people doing contract farming with all these sorts of shenanigans out. How come that can't be done here?
If you look at it, Kinley, Bwana Peter, majority of the farmers in this country can't even understand what is really bedeviling them. In this perspective, you say there are policies that have been made, but if you look at what the producers get at the end of the day, it does not make sense. So instead of just being in a cooperative, what we are lacking is leadership. And then another thing we are lacking is the young people and other Kenyans to be part of the farming sector. If you look at it, if we are many, we can advocate for something and it can be done. But in this country, majority of the food is imported. We do not produce a lot of food in the country, even for export. So we are coming in as Wazalendo Movement Africa and using these smart technologies to let farmers know we need to produce more. And this we are trying to seek young people to tell them, get into farming. The moment we get as many farmers as possible, the moment we get as many people in the agribusiness, it means we can voice and push for what we want as farmers. But if we have these cooperatives na wale farmers ambao wako hapo ni wachache, inakuwa vigumu sana kuweza kupata malalamiko yao inasikika. Hata ikisikika, itasikika kwa wakati fulani. Alafu itafika muda fulani utapata hiyo mambo ilitupiliwa mbali. Ndio maana unapata the prices unapata zina dwindle. They are not constant. Or rather, the prices as yandamani na the production cost. So that's why unapata a lot of farmers our party faida katika ukulima wao. Lakini kama Wazalendo, we are coming in and telling young people, we can only change this if we be party to this. We can only change this if we start farming. We can only change this if we know the policies around agriculture. Even the other day, there's an horticultural bill in Parliament. If you look at it, look at even the incorporation of the young people. What have we brought to the people to the table as way of policies in that horticultural bill? So if you look at it, if it passes, we will be the ones saying, we don't want this bill, we don't want this bill. Yet, we had even the part for public participation. We were not party to. So I think as much as we can say the farmers are not to blame, we are to blame as farmers because we have really been trying to keep anything to do with agriculture. But if we let the information go out there, it can be easy.
I want to bring Shanice in, and the fact of the matter is that when it comes to agriculture, especially for the youth, they don't necessarily have to go into the farming itself, that there are many different opportunities within the value chain, especially when it comes to technology. Talk to us about some of those opportunities and where the youth can plug in.
Okay, that's a good question. So basically, when you're talking about agriculture, there's a lot of things that is included in agriculture because, okay, one, you need to get the fertilizer, the right fertilizer that you need. Sometimes people say they need fertilizer, but maybe they don't even need it. They need a specific one. So we have people who are in consultancy, people who are in, they do data analytics for the soil. So you need like to test the soil so that you can check the pH, what is needed, what is not needed. So there's a lot when we talk about agriculture and we talk about smart farming because there's smart farming, there's clean technology where we incorporate tech to emit. There is damage that is done, so we need now to recuperate it. So in different sectors, I can say when I did IT, I didn't know that I was going to include it in agriculture.
To be using it for agricultural purposes.
But now it has been so easy and effective because there's new technologies coming in, and we are trying in any way possible to now try to venture in agriculture. We have people who do data analytics, who we go to them, we source numbers from them, like, okay, this month we did this and this, what went wrong? We need more. We need more produces. Maybe we need more fertilizer. So we can incorporate it in different things that we're doing.
It's interesting you say that because, for example, we've just seen a story which has talked about some areas will experience drought. This week we also saw the Met announce the day before yesterday that we're going to have a lot of rain in some areas. How do you think this technology then helps farmers to plan? Because now you know that in some areas drought, in some areas we'll have rain. How would the technology then be able to be utilized by the farmers that you're working with to be able to drive productivity for them?
So as we have that data that came in, now we now need to take measures according to the climate, how the climate is going to change. Like right now we have some seeds that are drought resistant. We can say because maybe this coming few months it's going to be drought, this is what you're going to plant. Then if the next season it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of rain, we're going to say, okay, let us plant something that is not going to get spoiled through that rain. So this is just something that keeps you ready so that you know what is coming, so that you know how to plan yourself and measures to take so that when it comes, you don't fall with it. So it's a way of you just being smart about it. It just doesn't appear so that you go through losses.
You are saying wasianguke nayo.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, interesting thoughts right there. And of course, the youth facing many different challenges across the agriculture value chain. What are the things they should do to stay afloat? What is the technology available for them? Let's sort of find out that in today's segment of the Farmer of the Day. Take a look.
Ningependa kuambia vijana wenzangu, maisha ya siku hizi ni kujituma. Hakuna haja kwenda kutafuta kazi na kazi yenyewe iko hapa kwa mchanga. Agriculture is everything. Hata kama hizi fanya kazi ya dairy, anaweza fanya kingine na itamudu kimaisha. Anza tu kidogo na utafaulu. Hata kama sio maziwa, mbolea iko na pesa. Najua kutengeneza mbolea yenye iko na nutrients yote. Na ninakuwa nafundisha watu na ninapata pesa.
Tuseme ni kama tu self employment juu huku nje hakuna kazi. So niliona ni heri nijiajiri juu at my home sahi I'm like the breadwinner. So nikisema nianze kungangana na kazi huku nje nitakuwa ni kama na waste time na nimeona kuna opportunity hapa. So niliamua ni venture into farming ndio nikete for the needs of my young ones. Juu currently niko na 2 cousins na my young one for my sister. So bado wote wananitegemea, na nikisema nilegeze kamba utapata shule wajaenda, wajapata kitu ya kula jioni, so inabidi nitie bidii. Tuseme kama NGO ama government walete more knowledge, yani walete more trainings for youths, ndio wapate hii knowledge, wajue ukulima inalipa.
Well, of course, first to point out that the youth should start out with the knowledge that they have because, well, for most Kenyans, you do have that basic knowledge in agriculture. But food for thought, back for a few minutes with our guests. Now, Eugene, when you look at the average age of a Kenyan farmer, in most cases north of 65, why is it important to have young people in agriculture?
Thank you. That's a philosophical question and a good one at the same time. I'll say this. We have been put into a box to think we do not need farming. But I always tell this to young people and to anyone, as long as you are a human being. Today you've eaten something.
Yes.
There's no way any human being you'll say you'll go days without eating. It means we need to focus on that. Because whether we like it, someone cannot own a land, not a land, a house or a car. But one thing that is constant, you must eat. So that is why we are coming in.
But what if agriculture is not paying? Why should people farm for you to eat, yet you don't want to pay them?
No, agriculture is paying. Agriculture is paying unless you're doing it wrongly. And
so how do I know if I'm doing it wrong?
It is simpler. If your profits does not match, or rather does not exceed
match your input, your level of input.
Exactly, you realize there's something you're doing wrong.
Yes.
So that's why we are coming in and telling, we can't wait to get into farming, more of a retirement plan. We can do this as a job. We can do this as something for sustainability. And that's why we are giving literacy, smart agriculture literacy. We are setting up smart farms. We are setting up model farms in different counties in this country. Like I've told you, we are doing what we call greening of hospitals.
Yes.
In greening of hospitals, if you look at it keenly, majority of the patients, or rather the hospitals, cannot sustain the food for the patients, or rather even the workers in that hospital. That's why we are coming in with model farms to see on how we can give these free food to the community and to the hospitals by planting and using that land they have. Because majority of the hospitals in Kenya, or other public institutions, they have a land, but they don't take advantage of. So as young people, we are telling them, stop complaining that unangoja ufike 30 or 40 or 50 for you to venture into farming. This is something we need to start venturing it earlier on. And this is how we are doing it to motivate young farmers. We have a program, what we call Wazalendo na Watoto. Wazalendo na Watoto simply means we are teaching young people, we are teaching kids in schools to have their own model farms. To realize, instead of saying, as a young person, unataka usome, ukishamaliza kusoma, upate kazi katika ofisi. Ama ukue maybe this person in the society. Tunasema, kama ukiwa mtoto mdogo, that is not the path. Because we've seen it. This path has led us to unemployment. This path has led us to this menace we are in of 60% of young Kenyans having no job, having nothing to do for themselves. Ndo maana tunaanza kufunza watoto wakiwa wadogo. Tuko na watoto katika mashule tofauti ambao tuko na model farms zao wanakuja kucheck in kuona kama watakuwa sustainable. Another project we are coming in to try and bring all that to sustainability is we are partnering up and having a collaboration with the World Scouts Parliamentary Union. And this is a union under the State Department of Devolution for Honorable Tabitha Mbaika, where she has been steadfast to help us incorporate these into the schools, whereby we want to set smart farms in different schools in this country. And these smart farms are not the way it has been done before, whereby people from the higher classes only venture into such activities. No, we are saying kids as early as 5 years, kids as early as 8 years, they need to know. Because majority of the people live in the city. And this majority of the people live in Nairobi, they have balcons. We can capitalize on these balcons. We can capitalize on these balcons and put model farms, smart farms on those balcons, whereby even your own kid at 2 years, 3 years, they start seeing plants, they start seeing crops at a very young age.
I want to bring Shonice back into the conversation. And the fact of the matter has been that government has focused largely on exporting labor to other parts of the world. Not so much on labor in the development of that in Kenya, especially in spaces like agriculture. Why do you think that is the case? Do you think that move is actually helping us deal with challenges we have of productivity?
Okay. That's a very good question. But one of the things people tend to forget is we can take a number of people outside, they go get the knowledge. How will they want to come back and work with the public? They'll be like, I went there, got my knowledge, now I'm coming back to maybe open my own organization, do this movement. But still, it's not empowering those people who would want to venture in such a business. So it takes them maybe it takes them a good amount of time to maybe self-realization to see this is something the public needs to know. This is a knowledge I need to share. So one of the things they tend to forget is the large percentage of people who really need this. Sorry. The good number of people who really need this are not the people who are getting the knowledge, are not the people who are sharing the knowledge. And as a movement, that's what we are trying to, that's the niche we're trying to close. We reach to people who really need this kind of knowledge, and we reach to people who will even, when I teach you something, you go teach another person. So in the near coming future, we'll have a population where we don't strive to look for employment in other places. I say, I have this certain skill, I have this certain knowledge, this is what I'm going to start, and this is a movement that is going to help people in the near future.
How much support have you received from government and other stakeholders in sort of pushing this agenda so that you achieve more impact?
So personally, I normally believe if you can't help yourself or show an impact first, people won't be interested in what you're doing. So as a movement, what we've tried to do, we try to reach out to people for collaboration or for maybe support. But now we don't approach it in a way, we need funds from you. We show you what we've done. So if you feel like you're motivated enough, or we have impacted enough, that's when you can come, role play, and let's say, because you've already done this and this, let me introduce you to this certain person. They're going to help you in a specific venture so that you can try and strive forward. So that's our approach when we want to go for collaborations and partnerships.
Eugene, if you were to look 10 years into the future, what sort of impact would you say that you'd want your organization to have in the country?
Whereby we no longer import majority of our food. Even the eggs we consume here, they are from Uganda. Yet we have spaces we can do chicken farming. So our main focus and our main vision is to strive to green Africa. And we are not only greening Africa in terms of trees, we are also greening Africa in terms of crops.
In the beginning, when I talked about, and sorry to interrupt you, when I talked about advocacy, it's because some of the bigger challenges that we have are around policy that drives the challenges that you've talked about. So, for example, when you talk about eggs coming from Uganda, then you look at the cost of animal feeds in Kenya vis-a-vis the cost in Uganda. Huge difference. And of course, consumers are looking for good quality at lower prices. So, and save milk and other things.
I truly agree with you. And that will solely depend on the government of the day, or rather the leaders.
Yes.
That's why I told you earlier, as much as we'll say this is not working, it is not working because majority are not producing. You're saying the production cost here is high in Kenya.
Yes.
The production cost is high, which means even the number of eggs produced zinakuwa kidogo.
Yes.
Unaona? So they cannot sustain the entire market. That's why the importation is coming in. So we are doing policy we are coming up with laws to help and regulate all these. Not only regulate imports to come in, but also to save the farmers who are here to produce more. Because we cannot say we don't want imported eggs, we don't want imported milk, yet we are not producing. How will our people survive, yet people eat these, they eat eggs on a daily basis? So as Wazalendo Movement Africa, in the near future, like you had asked earlier on the 10 years plan, we intend to have as many young people incorporated in the farming industry. Thinking of it, majority of the industries are collapsing. Majority, there is a shift, a paradigm shift in the world. So it is only quite well for the African child, for the Kenyan child, to focus on the farming sector. Simply because in the Africa we have majority of the land which are vast. Look at the northern side of this country. The northern side of this country, they do not do a lot of farming. Yet they have large tracts of land. Look at Taita. Look at Kwale. Yet even the majority of the rice we import is from Tanzania. Kwale Lunga border is close to Tanzania. They have large tracts of land. But because there's a problem with land, there's a problem whereby majority of the people don't even have access to the land that is over there. So that's why we are coming up with these laws. And not only coming up with policies to help farmers grow their food, we are also empowering young people. Like I've told you, we want to set model farms.
So I wanted to come to you, Shanice, to ask before we close what the reception has been by young ladies, especially because we know that while men might eventually get into agriculture by default, what's been the reception by young women, especially to get into this field, especially at different levels along the value chain? Because we know they can become brokers, they can work in markets, they can be in the technology space, they can essentially inject themselves into any space.
Okay. One of the key things I normally talk about when people ask me such questions, I normally say, because I started off as a software engineer, I was like, okay, there's something we can do more than just maybe making website coding and all that. So I'm probably a problem solver. So I saw one of the things that is growing, and one of the key areas where people need to know more and to learn is in agriculture. Because most of the times, people have been doing agriculture the traditional ways. And there are more than enough technologies outside there that's going to help different people in different ventures. So I normally tell people it's not a matter of getting into agriculture. You can get to the smart side of it, which is one of the things I can tell young ladies to join is in clean technology and sustainable technology, because in that you not only do the dirty farming and all that, you can get into recycling, you can make products out of them, you can make merchandise out of different produces that crops give. So it's a wide range of things that people can do. It just needs those people with passion and the clear mindset that this farming is just not something that you can get into and ignore in some time. This is a mindset where you need to know this is what it needs for me to do a certain thing.
So it takes time and takes commitment.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much both for taking the time to talk to us. Unfortunately, we are running out of time for today's show. Oponya Eugene and Shanice. Second name was?
Singirankabo.
That one, yes. Thank you very much for both taking the time to talk to us today. And for you, of course, the viewer, for taking the time to join us here today. Of course, we are the show that's at the forefront of transforming the agricultural economy for a sustainable tomorrow. We will see you again at the same time tomorrow for more on Farm Kenya. But from us here in studio for now, it is Kwaheri ya kuonana. Of course, the news continues here on KTN, so do continue to enjoy the rest of your viewing. Kwaheri ya kuonana.
Kuwa mkono ambao unali